The Women's Creative dares their listeners to hurdle their dreams. Tune in to our weekly podcast to hear from individuals who are breaking down barriers, solving problems, and making the world a better place. Hear the stories of these business owners who chose to take the road less traveled. Join us for Not There Yet. Well, hey, everyone. We are so excited to be with you today. It's Christina Weaver. I am a co-founder of The Women's Creative.
And I'm Bianca Fitzpatrick. I am Director of Marketing for The Women's Creative.
Awesome. And you're tuned in to Not There Yet, stories about women who are taking the road less traveled. And we just sat down with Michelle Smallman.
Oh, my God. She's like a superstar.
She's amazing. I know. And she's someone I met a while ago and had heard her story, and you had never heard her story.
No, I hadn't, literally until she came in today. I mean, I did a little bit of my research, and we had just finished Freshly Picked with her. So I was starting to learn a little bit more about her. But, I mean, after today, like, the level of respect has risen so far high. Like,
no, she's a total badass.
Yeah.
So we're super excited to talk more about that. But before we do, we have to take a quick pause and do a roll call, because today, every day we sit down, and we always look around our office or whoever we're working with. Everyone's wearing something from a local or small business, owned business. And so usually we call out like, oh my God, you're wearing this or you're wearing that. So
yes.
What do you have on today, B?
So I'm definitely wearing Room 7, the blazer. I have Prevail Boutique bracelet on, and I feel really,
gorgeous.
really bad because
this is Minx Metals.
It is Minx Metals. Okay,
yes.
This one of my favorite
she's
rings
amazing.
is from Minx Metals. So, and I probably wear this every other day.
Awesome. Okay. Well, and I am a little more of a minimalist than Bianca. So I have one necklace on, and it's from Teresa at Belshazzar Jewels.
Oh, I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah, I know. And she just like travels the world and gathers these cool things and does these statement pieces, and they're really great. So if you are a local women business owner, shout out to you. We're really excited that you're listening in. The Women's Creative is always here to help you. Tune in with us on Thursday mornings to Stronger Than Coffee. You'll find us on Instagram or Zoom. Please sign up for our email newsletter through our website and stay in touch. So yeah, we're going to dive in for a few more minutes and kind of reflect on this, like the inspiration that Michelle gave.
Yes.
So be like, what's kind of like the one thing that you walked away from? You were like, whoa, I my mind is blown.
You know, Michelle reminds me a lot about myself when I was in college, just hearing her story, and like, she really like reignited my determination, and just hearing her story of like just how adamant she was about achieving her goals and like making a very like decisive moves in her life, and just committing to whatever decision she made and like living it through. And I mean, post doing that, I mean, she's like really like receiving the fruits of her labor. And you can see it in our community, and then it's spreading into other communities within her travel and in other offices. And just her impact is a lot bigger than I think she realizes it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one thing that really struck me is she's like, oh, I don't know if you could say that about me or that I did that. But like, she truly is like a trailblazer for women, particularly in St. Louis in sports, but definitely nationally too. And there's more and more women who sit in roles like hers, but when she got started, there were not very many. And it's just incredible to see she had a vision for what she wanted to do. And obviously she loves what she does, right? That helps so much. And that clearly motivates her. But she just really stuck to it and was willing to try different things to get into the seat, to get a seat at the table. And I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know. I think I would have given up.
That is easier said than done for sure. And I think especially with the industry that she's in, where it's sort of dog eat dog for women and a male dominated industry, I really appreciate her humility and like willingness to like create a family of women in her industry and like really pursue like a sisterhood and like understanding that if they work together, they can accomplish so much more.
No, I think that's right. I mean, her positivity, her hope is unflappable.
Yeah.
And I think some of those things that really like lifted me as I listened to her. And it's like, okay, regardless of what I come up against or how hard this might be or how many things that we're trying to do, I just literally can't figure out. It's like, surely there's a way to do this and I can't figure out how to do it. she got creative. She got thoughtful. She took turns when she needed to. And she stayed really focused, but she stayed positive and kind through the whole thing.
For sure.
I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah. And the best part about it is that she's really just getting started. I mean, she's continuing to accomplish major things, and she's growing, and she's still like has goals and dreams that she's wanting to accomplish no matter like how many things she's already achieved. And so I think that speaks to the purpose of this podcast. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, her announcement at the end of her interview is really exciting. And we all like know that it's coming now. We're all now going to listen to late night radio on ESPN with Michelle. But I think you're right. I think, she'll say, I don't know, maybe I'll be back to St. Louis. And you just see women like this, like there's no direction for you except for up.
Yep.
And I think it's again, like it's her being positive and kind and optimistic and keeping her head down and working really hard. And so super inspirational.
Yeah, I truly, truly wish the best for her. And whatever happens, we know is purposeful and it's intended to happen. And so whether that's her staying where she is or coming back to St. Louis, either way, it's what it's supposed to be. So congratulations, Michelle.
Agreed. And thank you so much for your time with us. And for those of you who are listening, in just a couple seconds here, you're going to get to hear our interview with Michelle. And we think it's really going to be impactful for you. So after you hear it, make some comments. Let us know what you thought. Share your story with us. Connect. We love to hear from you. So thanks so much for tuning in and enjoy this.
Yeah.
The Women's Creative couldn't be more excited to record our weekly podcast at Shock City Studios. Their large format studio specializes in music, podcasts, and audiobooks. If you're looking for a space for you, call Shock City Studios.
All right. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. My name is Bianca Fitzpatrick, Director of Marketing for The Women's Creative.
And I'm Christina. I am one of our co-founders, and we're really excited to be joined today by Michelle Smallman.
Miss Michelle Smallman. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, ladies. This is so exciting to be here with you.
Absolutely. Well, it's been really fun for us to get to know you and get to partner with you a little bit. We just finished up Freshly Picked, which was an awesome event on Tuesday night.
Yes, it was so fun. And thank you so much for all of the hard work and effort you ladies put into that. It was so fun.
Yeah, we had so much fun. We were able to support Lydia's house and sell some secondhand clothes. And
yeah, it was awesome. It was a great turnout. Amazing women, amazing items to buy and purchase. So I think all around, everyone won. It's great.
It was so good. So Michelle, tell us, why don't you introduce who you are, what you do for those of you those people listening who may not know you. And
yes, my name is Michelle Smallman, as you mentioned, and I am one half of Carricker and Smallman, which is the morning show on 101 ESPN here in St. Louis. So I am the co-host of the morning show, Talking Sports, from 7 to 10 a.m. here in St. Louis.
I love it. And what else? Because there's just that's just the beginning.
Well, I mean, I've done a couple things here and there. I also, when the Battlehawks were here, did work for them. I've done stuff for St. Louis City SC. I have a personal podcast. I feel like there's always opportunities that pop up here and there that I try to take advantage of. But yeah, you've probably heard me through your speakers at some point somewhere.
Well, I mean, you have all of these accolades in the sports industry and generally in broadcasting. Can you tell us how you got to where you are today?
Oh, sure. I'll give you the quick elevator story because I think like most people, once you are in your career for 10 plus years, it's not a quick and linear path. Right. You never end up in the place that you anticipated that you would. I never even thought I would be in radio. I actually went to college to be in TV, but I've been in radio for over 10 years. It's weird how that works out, but I'll roll it all the way back to the beginning. So I went to the University of Illinois. I actually went pre-med. I wanted to be a dermatologist. And after about 5 minutes of my first chemistry class, week 1, my freshman year, I realized that wasn't for me. I had the self-awareness to know I was not going to be smart enough or dedicated enough to become a doctor. And so after meeting with my advisor and realizing that I needed to change my major and quickly, she said, "Well, if you could do anything, what would you do?" And I said, "Well, we have a really good and fun basketball team that the entire school had fallen in love with." I was like, I would follow them around and write about them. And she was like, "Well, you're a female and you have a deep voice. So if you're going to go into sports, you should go into broadcasting and not writing." And this was 2005 at the time. And she had the foresight to say, everything is going to be convergence media moving forward. I mean, you have to understand this was like at the very beginning of Facebook even. Mm-hmm. I remember my school getting the Facebook and thinking it was the coolest thing on earth. And she really could see what was coming down the pipeline and said, everything is going to be convergence media. So you're going to be writing and talking and shooting and editing, all of these things that you're going to learn in broadcast journalism, you will be able to apply to your job. So don't just limit yourself to strictly print, because everything is going to change moving forward. So I did that and asked her for any internship that came across her desk to get my hands on it, or at least apply to it. And I worked for Monday Night Football. I worked for KSDK here in St. Louis. I worked for the Big Ten Network, which was just getting started interviewing football players and doing a bunch of things for them. And then when I graduated, the economy crashed, which was great. And thankfully, I had interned here at KSDK, and they had an opening for the morning show Today in St. Louis. So I was a production assistant for that show. And I would work from 4 o'clock in the morning till 2 in the afternoon doing behind the scenes production work. And then from 2 to 6 every day, I would go to the sports office for free and just beg them to let me do anything for them. I would look at the calendar and see what was coming up, and I would see that they were going to Busch Stadium, and I'd say, hey, can I come along with you to see how, you interview a player? Or I'd say, hey, I saw your script. I wrote your teases for you if you want to use them. I saw you're going to interview Albert Pujols. Here's 20 questions that I wrote up just in case. And eventually I bugged them enough that they started letting me do some stuff. And then ESPN Radio came to town, and Rennie Knott, who was the sports director at KSDK at the time, got a weekend show and offered me a position. And so I did that for a little bit with him on my only day off. And the program director there heard me on the air and reached out to me and suggested that I apply for the job there. And I became Bernie Miklas's producer, and I've been in radio ever since.
Wow, what a fascinating story. I'm like, yes. Since the beginning, like, it's been really inspiring to hear you tell your story. And I'm putting myself back into like little college B. And even some of the qualities that we share with like you just being super driven and taking initiative, and like even like feeling okay with like switching course. And I think a lot of young people kind of have, well, this generation is a little different, but even mine, like have that issue with like the fear of like what could be if you completely change course. And so like your story is a testament to like all of the possibilities that could happen once you like commit to something that you truly love. So I really value that about you.
Oh, well, thank you.
And that level of determination.
Yes.
I'm not sure that I've ever, it's like, maybe I could do this. Maybe I'll try. I'll dip my toe into it. You were like, nope, I'm in the deep end. I'm going to get myself in front of people, and this is going to happen. I mean, you were all in. You really were.
It's kind of the only way to do this, because so many people want broadcast jobs, or specifically jobs in sports, that if you're not willing to sacrifice everything for this job, you will not make it. And this is what, when I speak at colleges or high schools, I tell these young people, I'm like, listen, you see that my name is on a show and that I work for ESPN, or you see me on the field interviewing players and you think that that's cool. What you don't see is all of the hours that I worked for free. You don't see all of the times my friends went out and I missed it because I had to work weird hours. You don't see the very small amount of money that you make in the beginning. And it truly is Darwinism. It's like, who wants it the most? Who is willing to sacrifice the most to get it? Because most people go into journalism and they're like, you know what? I'm not willing to give up all the things that I'm going to give up in order to make it. And so a lot of people pivot to PR or marketing, and those are amazing jobs too. But I just feel like I knew from the outset, especially being a female, it's going to be 10 times harder for you than it's going to be for a lot of other people. And if you really want this, you're going to have to commit yourself to it.
Well, this is a really good transition to the next question of the purpose of your work and why you do what you do.
Well, for me, sports is rare in the fact that it's the ultimate connector. I think especially now, we are more divided than ever. But right now, Albert Pujols is trying to hit 700 home runs. And I promise you, it doesn't matter if you're a male or a female. It doesn't matter how old you are. It doesn't matter what your job is, where you're from. All of these things that people use as identifiers to divide us, when we are cheering for one thing together, it's the ultimate galvanizing moment. And I love that about sports. And I think it's really cool that every day Randy and I get to wake up and we get to have people start their mornings with us and bring a bunch of people together. And that's not why I got into sports initially. I really just wanted to be part of the big moments. And I'm just in awe of people that also dedicate themselves to achieving something that is very rare and, remarkable. And I just think a lot of us like sports because we're attracted to greatness. But the more that I've done this, I appreciate my job and see my purpose as being an outlet for people, especially through a lot of hard times where they can pour themselves into something that brings them at least a little bit of joy every day.
So that's actually one thing I really love about listening to your morning show in the morning. I feel like, okay, Michelle's going to bring the sunshine. There is like positivity in this. There is, you're going to give it that spin that's going to bring everybody together. That's going to make, no matter what situation everyone's hating on, everywhere else in the sports world, Michelle's got a positive spin on it. And that's one of like my favorite parts of your approach. But you've hit a lot of stumbling blocks and you've had a lot of resistance and you're still bringing the sunshine. And so what is it in you or what has kept you going and kept you motivated? It's a lot of years that you've been driving this.
Yeah, that's true. I do try to at least put a positive spin on most things because I always try to put myself in the position of the person on the other side of the speaker. You probably are tired. You woke up this morning. Maybe you're running late because you couldn't find your kid's shoe or whatever. And you get in the car. See, it's just mornings are really hectic for a lot of people. And, you're rushing to get to work or there's all these things going on and you turn on our show. And like I said, this is supposed to be an escape for you. And sometimes the escape is because something happened in the game the night before and we're all mad and we're all going to be mad together. But other times it's for us to all kind of have a laugh together and be like, this is the toy department of life. Sports is supposed to be fun. That's why we like it. Yeah. So even if it's negative, Randy and I try to at least put a little bit of a rose-colored glass over it and just have people start their days off on a good foot. But I think as I've continued on, it seems like there's been an evolution into what I appreciate about this job or how I try to silence the noise or the issues that pop up. And a lot of people ask me, did you always know you wanted to be a sports talk radio host? And I'm like, no, I never even considered that this could be a job for me because I never saw someone who looked like me occupy that seat. And so the best part of my job is when parents come up to me and say, our little girl listens to you in the mornings on the way to school or camp or practice or whatever, and she loves you. So I always keep that in mind every day, that there's a little girl that's listening in a car somewhere who may have never heard a female on the air talking sports before, and maybe she loves sports too, and she thinks that's a job that I could take one day. And I can't wait for that little girl to grow up and take my job. I really can't, because that's the sort of progress that we need in sports.
Yeah, I love that. So what is next for Michelle Smallman?
Well, in September, when this is airing, I actually have an opportunity to work at ESPN at the mothership at the network. I'm going to be hosting and doing some stuff for them and some other things TBD until the ink is officially dry. I won't be able to share, but I think the next step is to, while still, of course, being connected to St. Louis and doing things in St. Louis, kind of take it to the next level and do some national work too.
I love that. You are one true example of this, what not there yet really, really embodies. And it's just like this journey. It's like people can see you and assume that you've arrived, but like you're still pushing through and you're still accomplishing great things. And this is really like the purpose of what we're doing here.
Yeah. Absolutely. When we talked about, the road less traveled, like your name came up immediately. It's like, who else has broken? I mean, I'm not sure I know anyone who's broken more barriers than you have at this point, which is like incredible in your field. And it is really, really exciting. You're making you and a group of really amazing other women are making a place for women in sports where there never really has been before.
Yeah. Even from when I first started, I feel like the industry has changed so much. And not only that there's so much more diversity and there's so many more women just involved in sports at so many different levels. But when I first started, the women that were currently occupying roles, they had to fight so hard to get there that people, and I don't even blame them because I feel like it's human nature, were very protective of their spots. Mm-hmm. They had to fight and claw to get there. And so they were going to be able to hang on to that job or just not lose it by any means possible, right? And unfortunately, for a very long time, it seemed like there might only be spot for one female. So you really had to be protective of your job. But now that we're seeing all of these different jobs and so many women break through barriers and occupy different seats, we've kind of developed this amazing collective of women that look out for each other and support each other. And there's no gatekeeping anymore. And, even just the other night, I was out to dinner with Katie Wu, who's a writer. She covers the Cardinals for The Athletic, and Alexa Dat, who you see on your TVs, covering the Cardinals and the Blues for Bally Sports Midwest. And so here's 3 women in St. Louis on 3 different mediums, and we're out to dinner and we're sharing, war stories, and we're giving each other advice. And I said to them at the dinner, I waited my entire career to have a group of women like this that I can use as a sounding board and that we can be champions for one another and just have each other's backs. And I think that is so cool that we've arrived at this place in sports where there's room for everybody and everybody is supporting and uplifting each other. And I just think as we continue forward, it's only going to be that many more women at the table.
That is beautiful.
I mean, that's amazing. Our last question was, not just what's next, but what would you hand to people or what encouragement you have? And I think that's huge. I think we can really say, like, let's bring more of us to the table and then be willing to, we have to send you off. But we're also, really, really honored that you're coming from a community that is building and creating space for more women.
Yeah. And the only other thing that I would say is that, seriously, if I can do it, anybody can. I did not know one person in media or one person in sports. I'm just a girl from Belleville, Illinois, that really put her mind to something and stuck with it. And I just think so many people, whether it's a job in sports or broadcasting or singing or something, they have this dream, but they just don't think that they can do it. Mm-hmm. If you believe in yourself and you work hard enough, you seriously can do anything. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't, because trust me, there's been so many people along the way that told me I couldn't do it, but you just have to believe in yourself and keep working and you'll get whatever you want.
I'm here for it. Michelle, thank you for your wise words. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much for joining us in this podcast. And thank you all for listening to Not There Yet. Catch us every week for stories from our community about the road less traveled.